this is Craig the Computer Geek here with Friday Forum, and this week my guest is Mecca Kosek from MK Design Studio. Hi Mecca.
Hi Craig.
Mecca, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your business, particularly about your background, how you got into graphic design, and what it is that makes what you do stand out from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, just to start it, I have 19 years of experience, and I was brought into because I was always drawing when I was little, and I wanted to study something that's related to that. And when I actually applied to the Academy of Fine Arts, I didn't know really what a graphic designer does.
Yeah.
So I learned along the study, which I was enjoying immensely.
Yeah.
And it was the best time regarding in my life, basically.
Yeah,
because
you've got to be doing something what you love, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about your background. You're originally from Slovenia.
Yes, I'm originally from Slovenia, and I was born and raised in Ljubljana, the capital city, and we moved to Canberra 3 years ago.
Yep.
And when we moved here, so I started my own business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just for your listeners out there, you may have seen some of the branding on my website and business cards and so on. So Mecca's actually responsible for that. So I'm a very, very happy customer. So I would like to ask you, Mecca, about the the IT systems that you use. What do you actually use to do your graphic design work?
I do use Adobe Suite, so it's Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign.
Okay.
Those are three main software.
What's the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator?
Photoshop is mainly to work on images, and Illustrator is mainly to create vector artwork.
So drawing.
Yeah,
stuff.
drawing and mapping out the logo that I'm creating on, and that I can import into InDesign.
Okay. Now, when you actually produce the finished artwork, I remember you gave me a guidebook as well.
Yes.
With all the different colours and how what colours work together and what colours don't. Can you elaborate for our listeners about the guidebook and different sort of colour schemes and how they all work together?
Yeah, the guidebook is very important for new brand because it contains all the important information from colors that are used in your logo, and as well the font that is used.
Okay. And
I include those colors, also the RGB scheme, the CMYK scheme, which is for print, and RGB is mainly used for online.
And the Pantone colours.
Yeah, and the Pantone colours are so that a printer can relate on particular colour, so they can match it. And this is what guidebook is mainly for. Remaining the consistency in your branding, so that, for example, if you go to embroider, that they can match the same color that you use on your business card to your embroidered logo on your t-shirt.
Okay, that's good. And when you're actually working with these programs, you probably run into some issues from time to time. So what do you actually do when an issue comes up, an IT issue?
Usually I refer to my husband because he has a good IT knowledge. Well, he's a self-learner, but I would definitely recommend Craig you to help to address those things. But usually what I come across, because I work on Mac, and it doesn't crash that often as PC.
Yeah.
So usually what it is just you have to reset the program, or I have to restart the computer. This usually works for me.
Yeah, a restart fixes quite vast majority of problems, whether it is a PC or Mac. So that's the main thing. But so most of the software you're using is around the graphic design stuff, and you're using Outlook, I guess, for your email, or
no, I'm using the Mac program that is on the computer, but I do use Microsoft Office, so I use Word and Excel as well, and PowerPoint as well to prepare some presentations.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily they work on Mac as well.
Yes, they do. They'd miss out a fair share of the market if they didn't do that. So, one other thing I'd like to ask you, Mecca, for any potential customers out there who need some graphic design work, or I know some of the other things that you do are yearbooks and brochures, flyers, Christmas cards, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Before somebody actually comes to you and says, "Hey Mecca, can you design this for me?" What should they actually? What can they do to prepare to make it easier for them and easier for you as well?
First thing is, if they can prepare text, that would be great, and that it's proofread, so that they can hire someone that does editing and proofreading. That would be great, particularly for annual reports and flyers and things like that.
Okay.
But in regards of branding, it would be great if they know what is the voice they want to create for their brand, so that they know already a bit who is their target market, and what is the voice or the that they want to communicate with their audience.
Okay, so if it's more something contemporary, or it's something sort of formal, or is that what you mean by the voice? Because everything, it's not just logo. Branding is not just logo, so it's also how you communicate with your clients, and what's your customer service, and all those things. So you have to reflect it on every level of your business. And some colours lend themselves better to different types of businesses or services you provide.
I would say that the colour is for example, I can't say that color is very it's very personal, I would say. So it can be used for anything. You just have to justify it with the story, or
say a women's gym, for example, where you might be looking at sort of more pinky sort of colours perhaps, as opposed to a law firm.
But I just did one logo for Rally de Femmes, and they specifically didn't want to have a pink or color, so we ended up with between red and orange.
Okay.
So we went a bit far away, but sometimes it can be very stereotypical with colors.
And what about styles of fonts? I mean, there's different styles. I know, like scripty fonts, or sans serif or serif type fonts with the little lines off them. What sort of font tends to work best for different? When would you use a font with serifs like Times Roman, as opposed to like a sans serif font like Arial or Helvetica or something like that, or a scripty font?
Usually it goes that for books in particular, they use serif fonts. So because it's easier on eyes to read it. But for example, for manuals or for flyers, when it's really information based, then sans serif. That I would suggest. And it also depends whether it's a title or it's a body text. it's important as well.
And I get one other thing too would be the looking at the different types of, or not using too many different fonts in something that you're doing, or too many colours, because it looks a bit too busy and all that.
Yeah.
Is that your experience?
Yeah, well, most of designers say that less is more.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's just if you use too many different types of fonts,
Yeah.
it's like using
Too distracting.
too many colors.
Yeah.
It's just too distracting, and then your message doesn't come across because eyes are busy with all the different shapes rather than what's the message.
Yeah. So the bit like the KISS principle, I guess, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other tips that we haven't covered that you might want to mention?
No, I think we covered pretty much all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
All right, Mecca, well, that's been great. So that's it for this week's episode of Friday Forum. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, Mecca.
Thanks, Greg.